When you're painting with hot wax, having a heat tool that can help you melt, fuse, and manipulate the wax on the substrate is essential. Each painting will have multiple layers with a variety of other mediums in between, such as oil paint, indigo ink, and paper. What those layers consist of, how large your painting is, and the effects and textures you're creating will determine which heat tool is best for your project, a heat gun or a blowtorch. Welcome to the Pavilion. In this Encaustic Basics series, I've been sharing the fundamentals of encaustic painting for those who would like to learn and are not sure where to start. Here are my videos about encaustic medium and the basic tools to start painting if you're interested in those as well. Now, before we get into everything, I'll just say that this is not an all-encompassing video. I haven't used every heat gun or blowtorch on the market, and as you progress with your paintings and use these tools, you'll learn more things than I can include in this video. But the things I've learned will still be very useful to you as you paint, especially if you're just getting started. So, which heat tool do you need? Let's start with heat guns. The first thing to know is that heat guns are less expensive and last longer than blowtorches. You can get a basic embossing gun for around $20, and they will heat your wax at the flip of a switch. There's no refueling propane or buying new canisters. Heat guns are easier to use and safer than blowtorches. I'll be honest, I didn't invest in a blowtorch for a long time because I was way too scared to try one. And when I finally got one, I spent quite a while reading all the manufacturer's instructions and making sure I wasn't making any stupid mistakes. My heat gun was safe and familiar. I'd spent a long time learning how to get good fuses and textures by hitting the wax from different heights and for different periods of time. There is a lot you can do with just a simple heat gun. Heat guns blow heated air through the nozzle. This can be good and bad. It's very useful to be able to move the wax around with heated air, and there are techniques that use this feature very effectively. But it can also be frustrating sometimes to be working on a piece and have the wax move because you kept the heat gun in one place too long. Of course, with practice, this won't happen as much, and you'll become a master of the heat gun. The last thing I'll say about heat guns, they heat the wax differently than blowtorches. Heat guns melt the surface of your painting slower and not as deeply as blowtorches. Working with heated air is a slower way of heating the wax, which again can be good and bad depending on what you're trying to do. A quick rundown. Working with mixed media elements like drywall plaster, paper, and fabric are usually going to be better with a heat gun. Heat guns are great for smaller paintings and thinner layers. If you're intimidated by blowtorches like I was, a heat gun is definitely safer, and most encaustic techniques can be accomplished with a simple heat gun. Now let's talk about blowtorches. I use this Burns-O-Matic propane blowtorch with the trigger attached. These are more expensive than heat guns because the propane will run out eventually and you'll need to replace the tank. You can get one without the trigger, but it's much harder to light and to work with if you don't have one. If you're at all intimidated by blowtorches, having a trigger definitely helps. Blowtorches are much heavier than heat guns. If I'm holding one too long, my wrist will start to hurt. There are artists who use a kind of strap to take the weight off of their wrists while they work. This will need to be my next investment, especially since I'll be doing work with larger pieces. Blowtorches don't blow air, so the wax does not move around as much as it does with a heat gun. Though the propane escaping the nozzle, which is what keeps the flame burning, still has some power to move the wax. It won't move like a heat gun does. Blowtorches, because they utilize an open flame directly with the wax, will heat the surface of your painting more quickly and more deeply than a heat gun will. This makes it ideal for certain techniques like shellac burns, as well as thicker layers of wax and for larger paintings. It does work well for textured pieces as well, though you do have to be especially careful to just brush the surface. These are the main aspects of heat guns and blowtorches in my experience, and the differences between them. So, which one is right for you? Have you noticed other differences? What is your tool of choice? Do you have a favorite version of either of these? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.